fifth round. You can hit on them in the sixth round. And
Yeah, as long as you get a running back, not a return specialist.
like every year it feels like there is some running back, some rookie running back that makes an impact that you go, how the hell did this guy last till the fourth, fifth, and sixth round?
Well,
So
that's where I'd rather them go that direction in the draft than in the secondary, what we were talking about a couple minutes ago. Go with the running back in the draft. Go with, positions where you're more probable to hit. In the secondary, you're not so probable. I mean, there's busts left and right at the cornerback position.
Look, and that's every position. Every position you go, like, I could list the amount of busts that happen. I just think he just needs to listen to his scouts. And if his scouts have identified somebody that they think can play, then you take them. You don't go, okay, well, we're not going to take him because we've never had luck at it. And I'm worried that, if we take this guy, it won't work out. You can't have that mindset going into it. I mean,
all right, I'll play Howie Roseman, and I'll put this out there as a rebuttal to what you guys just said. Then I want you to come back to Howie Roseman. I really don't know what you guys are questioning. Starting safety after his injury is going to be Sidney Brown, who we took in the third round. Our starting slot is Avonte Maddox, who we took in the fourth round. Once Darius Slay or Bradbury are done, we have Keely Ringo, who we took in the fourth round. We started this past year and are going to start this next year an undrafted free agent in Reed Blankenship. We need to address another safety, and that's pretty much it. We've already hit on all of our secondary stuff through the draft and unrestricted free agents.
no. No, I'm sorry.
I find it weird.
You can't sell me on a fourth-round pick. Not yet, at least. Like, you can't sell. And like, Zach Berman had a great article about the whole Keely Ringo and situation and how, like, guys are praising. That is exciting. Look, that's great. Okay, cool. That's not going to prohibit me from going and getting another cornerback.
Yeah, they invested in the secondary, but they invested in a blockbuster stock that is plummeted. Like, Avonte Maddox might not be here next year based on the contract. We'll see. Reed Blankenship is, he's a NFL caliber safety, not a starter, not a second safety. I think he's good in spots.
I don't know. I think we're way too hard on Reed Blankenship. Way too. Like, this is a guy that's in his second year, his first year as a starter, and the world has just decided, no, that's it. He can't be a starter. And not only was he a starter, he was a starter in the most dysfunctional defense we've ever watched. The Eagles have. This was more dysfunctional than the Juan Castillo year.
And look who his running mate was at safety.
By far, it was more.
Right?
And he had no running mate. Like, I don't know if he can play or not. Like, this goes back to my Scott Kingery thing. I have no idea if he can play or not, but let's not just write the book that, okay, I think he's a situational, rotational. That's fine. You might think that, but, like, it's not a foregone conclusion that he just can't play because this guy, I feel like, wasn't really given the full deck of cards. He was given a rough hand with a defensive coordinator that didn't know what he was doing, another defensive coordinator that knew even less, a running mate at the other safety position that was horrible. Another safety comes in, but he has to learn a whole new system, and a week later he's got to learn a whole new system. Like, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Reed Blankenship ends up, amounting to something where, in a year or two you go like, wow, actually, kind of wrong on him. Like, he's actually a really, really good safety.
Well, then don't we have to afford that line of thought to a Keely Ringo?
The only reason I would say no to that is because Keely Ringo was a rookie last year. If Keely Ringo was going into his second year and he had, like, I would have had this same thought process on Reed Blankenship a year ago.
Okay.
Because a year ago, Reed Blankenship's coming out of his rookie year. I didn't see enough. Like, I saw some good from Reed Blankenship. I saw some bad from Reed Blankenship. But you gotta remember, like, he's in his second year as an undrafted rookie. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask for a guy, and we've just decided, like, all right, like, he's not a starter. I don't know.
Good point.
He might be. That's all I'm saying. Like, let's just not.
And if he gets a really good running mate, he might even be that much better.
It's going to make him look better, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe not too aging.
Or maybe he sucks and Pat still doesn't know football. I don't know.
I don't think that's it. All right, this is the John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. When we get back, there was a lot of change among the 76ers this weekend. And I want to carry it a little bit further to the guys to see how it may affect them moving forward. Also, I have a life question for you. I want to know, how do you incorporate sports into your everyday life? Or do you? Because I do an awful lot. Want to see if you do also. This is the John Kincade Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Tobias shows up big. I'm Brendan.
The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
John Kincade Show here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Bob Cooney, Pat Egan, Brendan Gunn getting it done behind the glass today. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a great Monday morning. Hope you had a real good weekend. YouTubers, we are back. Haley just informed me whatever was wrong, the IT department, thank you very much. It has been fixed. We thank you for your patience. We hate when something like this goes on. You don't know behind the scenes how much angst it causes us.
Just had to turn it off and on a couple of times, then boom.
Is that what it was?
Get the word out. We back up. We back up, Bobby.
Yeah.
My name is my name.
I was going to come to you this
Every man's
weekend,
gotta have a
Pat,
code.
for a movie suggestion. One of the nights.
Walk
Oh,
on.
it was Saturday night. No, shut up. Saturday night, we were doing nothing. So Donna was like, all right, let's watch a movie. What do you think? Which ones? And I was like, let me get in touch with Pat. And her response was, no, don't do that because of the bad experience. One experience that we had. The rest have been terrific.
I was about to say the one bad experience. And I don't think it was, you could still call it a bad experience. It
Do you
was
know
a
this
great
experience,
movie.
B?
I have no idea.
You don't know this story?
No.
Oh, this is
So-
a good story.
We're sitting home one night, Saturday night, similar. I said, hey, me and Donna and our daughter and her boyfriend looking to watch a movie together. Now, this is like 3 or 4 years ago, so they're like 17. I said, you have any suggestions? Pat said, yeah, here's a really funny one if you're into comedy, and it's
Walk Hard, The Legend of Dewey Cox.
Walk
Great
Hard,
movie.
the Legend. Okay, with your 17-year-old daughter and her boyfriend?
So here's
Do you
the
remember
thing.
some of the scenes? So we're 7 minutes in. There's full frontal on guys right there on my TV
It
screen
happens.
in the living room.
Not
It
the full
happens.
frontal.
Yeah.
It made Shane very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Needless to say, movie went off. Text went out to Pat. You're an ass.
All right.
And he's like, oh.
In my defense.
Go ahead. I'll let you say
In my
it.
defense.
And I'll give it to you.
I gave Bobby like a list of like 5 or 6 movies. And by the time I got to Walk Hard, I had completely forgotten about Jenna.
Who's watching with them?
Dude, I had completely forgotten. I was just like, yo, this movie's hilarious.
It is funny.
Me and Jamie quote all the time. And you did like what you watched.
If I was me
Until
and the
the tail
guys or
came
me
out.
by myself, yeah.
Until the tail came out, you like it. Wrong kid died. So, look, mistakes were made. You move on.
So if I ever need an eye roll from my daughter, which I don't ever need them, but I get them quite often, all I have to do is bring up Pat Egan's name about movies. And Pat and Jenna have a unique relationship.
Yeah, we do.
They battle like they're brother and sister. It's pretty funny.
She gives me this look of just absolute disgust every time I see her. Like it's one of those like, oh God, he's still here. And
That's funny.
It's one of those looks, yeah.
Did you know the boyfriend at that time, like, pretty well, or is it one of the first times?
No, they had been dating for a little while. Like, I was comfortable enough that we were going to watch a movie together in my house. I wasn't comfortable enough to watch full frontal
I
with
mean,
them.
I couldn't do that.
Oh, you
When,
like-
when I'm watching
you
a
like that
movie at my
now?
Or
girlfriend's
with my
house,
daughter, I should say.
like if I'm watching a movie at my girlfriend's house and the people on TV are kissing, I'm like, yo, turn it off. Your parents might come in here. I don't want them to see us watching this. I can't imagine having a daughter and watching.
and you're what, 30 years old?
Yeah. Like,
Gotta leave room for the Holy Spirit. You're good to go.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
But
that
once
was...
again, mistakes were made. Is that why Jenna doesn't like me though? Is because of that,
Jenna
that one
loves
moment?
you. She thinks you're hysterical.
That one
she
moment?
loves you. No, I
I've been
honestly
trying to
God,
buy her
I
approval
watch-
with ice cream for like 2 years now.
I watch you two together, and this is pretty cool. I love this. I watch you and my daughter together, and you treat each other like brother and sister.
What's
I
funny
think
is
it's pretty funny.
Jenna will come in like when we do the happy hours. Jenna will come in and she'll give like people a hug that she knows or whatever, and then me and Jenna just stand there and just stare at each other, and it's the most uncomfortable hello.
and
Yeah.
you guys both know it's because of Walk Hard.
That's it.
It
That's
dates,
the whole reasoning.
It dates back to Walk Hard, yeah.
All right, there's something else that made me feel weird this weekend. And honest to God,
It wasn't the full frontal, huh?
no, it wasn't the full
Okay,
frontal.
just
There was
clarify.
no
It's not
frontal.
more of that. All right,
There was no
clarify.
back. There was nothing. But I watched this Sixers team this weekend, and complaining about lack of identity, which I did all last week, the week before, since Joel Embiid has been out. They make a little change to the starting lineup, which has been talked about before. You don't think it's anything big. They put Kyle Lowry in there, and they get 2 wins out of it. And it's more than the 2 wins. It's kind of an identity factor. And I laid out some of the numbers, and we'll get into them in a second, about how different this team was. So let's move it forward. Let's say that in the next 2 days we get word Joel Embiid will be back. Okay, let's look at this roster as currently constructed with a healthy Joel Embiid, with a healthy, let's say DeAnthony Melton is going to be healthy, and all the other pieces that you have now. What is it moving forward? So, am I looking, just real quick, yes or no, at a starting lineup of Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, Kyle Lowry, and what am I missing? Buddy Hield. Is that your starting lineup?
That's how I would go, and that's how I would have playoff games close out. I know if you don't want to have Kyle Lowry start in a playoff game and you want to have him come off the bench, that's fine. But in crunch time, that is the lineup I need on the court.
I think Kyle Lowry's facilitating. It has to be. He has to be on the court. Like, he has to be a starter. He had a great alley-oop pass yesterday to Mo Bamba. That was just.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, like that's the elite point guard that you had a couple years ago in Toronto. And you saw it. You saw flashes of it. And I think when Joel Embiid is on the court, he makes everybody around him better just by the space that he will take up. And I think it'll make the game a lot easier for Kyle Lowry. So he's able to do it now, and he's able to do it at high minutes. I don't know if I necessarily want him getting high minutes leading into the playoffs because I don't want to see him get burnt out.
Yeah, 30.
But
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, but then again, how are you going to get ready for the playoffs if you're not playing that many minutes?
33 and 36 minutes over the last two games, Friday and Sunday. Probably a little bit too much. So to expand on this a little bit, when the Sixers were playing well early in the season, and we've seen the record with Joel Embiid like 26-8 or whatever it was, the two-man game of Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And everything was going through that. Now that they don't have Joel Embiid, you have kind of like this dribble, weave offense where, guys are coming behind each other and it's a handoff and it's a weave here, and then you're hoping that guys will cut off of that, or the defense anticipates a weave and then you can cut back door or spot up for a jumper. Does Kyle Lowry fit into that with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid?
I think he does because I think he's versatile enough where he can – look, I mean, you got to remember, he's thrived in Nick Nurse's system. So this isn't foreign. This is not foreign to him at all. Like, he knows –
Good point.
He knows how to deal with Nick Nurse, and he knows what to expect. And I don't necessarily know if he knows how to work this current system because Nick Nurse has had to change some things with Joel Embiid being out, but – I think Nick Nurse is the primary reason why he came here. I think it's twofold. I think it's Nick Nurse. I think it's Daryl Morey who brought him to Houston. But I think that the big reason was Joel Embiid, Nick Nurse, and then Daryl Morey is like a third, just because they have a relationship together. But I think he is going to help this team, and more importantly, I think he's going to help in the short term. I think he's going to help Tyrese Maxey. And I think it's important to remember that Tyrese Maxey has gotten better as a point guard or having to bring the ball up because he worked so closely with James Harden. And because James Harden was so willing to be a mentor figure to Tyrese Maxey. And I think that you've seen the fruits of that this season. And then you've got Kyle Lowry coming in, plays point guard at a very, very high level. I mean, he's a multiple-time All-Star NBA champ, and he's willing to take that leadership mentor type role. I think we could be looking back in a couple of years and you go like, man, having Tyrese Maxey learn from both those guys in back-to-back seasons could really, like, you really saw a jump in his game, and he was able to take something from both of them. And in the short term, I think it'll help because his vision on the court is better than DeAnthony Melton, which basically that's the trade-off, right? If DeAnthony Melton's healthy, he moves to the 2, Tyrese Maxey moves to the 1. So it's better than Tyrese Maxey or DeAnthony Melton at this point, but I think adding him in has been better than we all thought because of intangibles, but also like the on-court stuff has been what I've been more impressed with than anything because I thought he was cooked.
Well, that goes to my next question. Does that say something good that the Sixers got this guy? It doesn't appear that he's cooked. He might be that like foundational piece, as you described, Pat, that's going to help this team maybe get over a hump or maybe be the best they can be if Joel Embiid comes back healthy? Or is it really concerning that, seriously, You had to go get a 37-year-old point guard who seems to have very little wear left on the tires, and that's what's going to put you over the top?
I don't know if it puts you over the top, and that's
Makes you better, I should say.
but it does. Like, he does make them better than what they were. I love Patrick Beverly, and they're two very different players. Like, Patrick Beverly was a backup point guard that was defensive oriented,
Right.
and he was a pest, and he would get in you and you know, ruffle feathers and all that crap. Kyle Lowry's not that, but for probably this team, he might be exactly what they need.
Right.
So I think he did make them better. I've been very pleasantly surprised with what I've seen on the court. And by the way, this is coming off the heels of a game yesterday where he did not shoot well.
No,
He-
1
he-
for 9 yesterday.
he was
He
bad.
did hit a big three.
He did, but like he was bad yesterday.
Yeah.
In terms of shooting. In terms of facilitating, he was great. And it's like, I can take that trade-off. Because if you add in Joel Embiid, he's not going to be shooting much anyway. He's really just going to be like dribble, drive, kick out, find the open guy. Like that. If that's what he is brought here to be, then it fits perfectly.
Yeah, you look at the lineup Bob just listed out. Embiid, Buddy Hield, Tobias Harris, Maxey, and then Lowry. You don't need Lowry to get his shots off in that
No.
situation. He's literally the fifth option on the floor in that case.
Last year,
scoring-wise.
you had a 1-2 punch of Joel Embiid and James Harden. And if Joel Embiid wasn't feeling it, you know, James Harden would go off for like 40 in a game. And you went like, all right, he picked up the slack of Joel Embiid's bad performance or whatever, you know, Joel Embiid's injured again. So you take out James Harden, but you've replaced him with Tyrese Maxey this season, who has done that more than a few times. Like, he's going off for 40 and 50 piece. So it's like you take that trade-off, and they haven't really missed James Harden nearly as much as I thought they would.
We'll see postseason-wise, though, because Maxey has come up pretty small in the playoffs up until this point. He's still very young, where James Harden was able to go out there and get you 2 games against Boston.
I don't mean to sound like a Tobias Harris defender with this, but like that
After
wasn't...
last week, I think you need to
Well,
be.
no. I was going to say, like, because the excuse with Tobias Harris, like pro-Tobias Harris people is, well, that's not his role. Like, he's the third option. And last year, or fourth option, whatever it is. Last year, like, Tyrese Maxey was the third option. And there would be stretches in games in the playoffs where he would go off and he'd kind of take over a little bit. But it was also a different team in the sense of Doc Rivers would slow that game down. And it was kind of like taking Tyrese Maxey, who was a Ferrari, and forcing him to go 55. Because you'd slow the game down with James Harden and Joel Embiid. And then you'd see the burst from Tyrese Maxey where he'd take off.
Nobody else is with him.
He'd add that speed. Exactly. And no one else is with him because we're jogging back down the court because we got, we got aging guys. Well, we got at least one aging guy and like a 300-pound, center who's like on hobbly legs. So now with Nick Nurse, like, I have more faith in Nick Nurse to develop a game plan where all of that works. But you bump up Tyrese Maxey to the number 2 spot. I do have faith in him coming up big in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he can do it. I just need to see him do
like
it first. No,
not from your tone.
No, I believe he can do it. I just need to see him do it first. Now, hopefully we don't need him to go out there and get 40 and 45 in a playoff game.
He's had some pretty nice playoff games before, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to look at the game log, but like I remember thinking like, oh, Tyrese Maxey's taking over in playoff games.
I was more so talking about when Embiid and Harden don't have it and you needed him to step up.
Okay.
I don't see him I haven't seen him step up in that case so far.
Yeah, the greatest thing about Kyle Lowry is, and Pat, you talked about his shooting game not being there that much yesterday.
The fact that he went to Cardinal Doherty High School.
Cardinal Doherty, the fact that you guys shared hallways together is special.
I told him everything he knows.
It's just the way he affects the game. And I do think that he affects games more than just his numbers. Like, he went for 36 and 33 minutes the last 2 games, probably more than he should. He combined for 17 assists and only 2 turnovers. I think that's more of a team thing. Like you mentioned earlier, Brendan, the play that he had when Dallas scored yesterday, he got the ball out from under the basket underneath and just threw it out. And Tobias Harris winds up with a layup before Dallas. Yeah, before Dallas can even get back. Why? Because he saw them loafing back on defense. Like, he sees things here. I don't think it's a coincidence that in these last 2 games, where they heavily relied on him, the Sixers have averaged over 120 points a game. They haven't been doing that at all without Joel Embiid. They have 60, now listen to this, 64 assists on 86 field goals. That is unbelievable. Then you talk about only 15 turnovers in these 2 games. They've out-rebounded their opponents. Sixers are a horrible rebounding team. In those 2 games, 94-85. Charlotte stinks. We all know that. The Sixers are trying to find an identity. It's not, they only beat Charlotte. No, they found a little bit of an identity. Okay, with Kyle Lowry in there, wow, I see how this team goes. Let alone Tobias Harris, 24 for 38, 59 points. That's 63% from the floor, almost 30 a game in these last 2 games with Kyle Lowry as the starter. And you see what Tyrese Maxey does. And maybe it's better for Tyrese Maxey not to have the ball in his hands as much as he did before. There's leaning towards what I was aching for, an identity with this team now with Kyle Lowry.
I don't want to dive too deep into it because it is only 2 games. Like I don't want to be that guy who's, on Monday saying like, all right, here we go, we're back. And then by Wednesday, I'm like, season's over, because I've been guilty of that in the past. But there are encouraging signs that you talk about. And I didn't think about the connection of Tobias Harris and Kyle Lowry. I don't know if it's anything. I don't know if there's any correlation or connection whatsoever to Tobias Harris getting it right and Kyle Lowry being a starter. But the early reports are in, and it's a good sign that Kyle Lowry comes in the starting lineup. It's something that's been brought up a few times by, I mentioned earlier when Kate Scott was on with us last time, she kind of brought it up, and who else brought it up with us? Somebody else. Oh, Keith Pompey brought it up. He brought it up in an article about whether or not you throw him in, and you kind of look at each other cross-eyed like, really? Like 38-year-old Kyle Lowry's going to be a starter in this league again? Like, I mean, this was a guy that couldn't get any run on Miami, and they wanted him. And, the early returns are good, and I wonder how much of it is that comfortability with Nick Nurse and coming in and knowing exactly how to handle him this late in the season. I think there is something, too, of when things are going rough, you have a new voice and you have Nick Nurse talking. To have a guy come in that is so familiar with Nick Nurse, that can, in a way, be an assistant coach and be that kind of, hey, I know he's telling you this, but don't worry. He told me that a couple of years ago, and it helped me here and there. These guys are still getting used to Nick Nurse. They've only known him for like 7-8 months. So if that. So a lot of these guys, this is the first stretch of their career where things aren't going great with him as the head coach, him as the guy. And to have, I think, a Kyle Lowry come in and just maybe reaffirm the message or clarify the message, I think is going to help this team.
Absolutely. You make a great point. They're getting used to him. He's getting used to them.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know who the them are. Follow me. Embiid's out. You just traded away Marcus Morris. You traded away, Patrick Beverley. You brought in 3 new guys. All of these things are going on, and Nick Nurse is trying to, put it all together. He probably needed a little help, and that's where Kyle Lowry came in. All right, we do have some breaking news.
Now, breaking sports news from 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Is this verbatim here, B? The quote that she has down here? You got it?
Yeah.
All right, we have some breaking news as far as the Philadelphia Eagles go.
Jason Kelsey tweeted out, no keg videos this year. I've come to a decision and will address it at a press conference this afternoon.
Have we gotten an email from the Eagles about it yet? Do you know?
Not.
Okay.
And I would say that is a good sign that he is done.
A press conference? He's not going to a press conference to say he's coming back to play again.
He's not doing I'm taking my talents back to South Philly. I would say that is a
clear indication
emotional-
of?
That is the wife and kids are with him. I would say he's gone.
Really?
I'd be
no chance.
I'd be floored if
he's got his helmet on. I'm ready.
Yeah, I think
Let's run it back.
No, I think I'd be floored if he.
Yeah, you don't go down to the
coming back.
NovaCare
Yeah,
complex in the middle of the offseason to say I'm playing next year.
I mean,
Right.
think.
It does say presser.
Yeah.
It doesn't say I'm just making an announcement. It's a presser.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
Yeah, I mean, think about the press conferences they've had with players and coaches. It's good. It's goodbye. It's never, hey, they're coming back. Let's have a press conference and Howie's there and Jeffrey's there. No, it'll be Jeffrey Lurie. It'll be Howie. It'll be the wife and kids, and then he's going to be sitting up there and he's going to get emotional. He's going to cry, and
He's an
say, "I'm
emotional
done."
dude, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I do too. But I would be willing to bet good hard-earned American dollars that he's done.
And word came this weekend Fletcher Cox might be thinking about retiring. So, yeah, things are changing. We'll see if the Eagles send us to something about what time the press conference may be. But Jason Kelsey, again, tweeting out, no keg videos. I have come to a decision and will address it in a presser this afternoon. So we'll see how we handle that. We'll talk to the big wigs here, see if we're going to handle that live maybe here on 97.5 The Fanatic. We'll look out for that. But when we get back, let's look at this Eagles team. Where are they now? How does this go for free agency, for drafting? What do you do? We've talked about it a little bit, but it always had the kind of adage of, well, we don't know what Kelsey's doing yet. Well, now it appears we might. We'll address that when we get back here. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Jason Kelsey's decision looms large. I'm Brendan Gunn, and this update is brought to you by the Bet Parks app. When you
from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
John Kincade Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic. Got a little hate tweet here, Pat, real quick.
You got a hate tweet?
This is what sports radio has become. Bob Cooney forces narrative that Embiid is being lazy, while report over the weekend said complete opposite. Clearly didn't research or watch the game. Luckily, a caller quickly called him out. Actually, it was Pat that called me out. I did not see that report, and I wasn't calling him lazy. I quoted him as saying he's been staying home doing nothing. And I said, I wonder if that's a concern, if that tells you anything. So I'm sorry that this person has, and I apologize that I did not hear the report. I did watch the whole Sixers game. I don't really listen to the announcers all that well, so maybe that's a fault of mine, Pat.
I had a rebuttal, but I'm just going to not do it.
Okay.
It's just not
I'm all right with it. Like, I don't care if people call me out.
No, it's
You're
just
probably
like-
right. I should have. I didn't have that at my
We have
disposal. I
these,
apologize.
we have these grandiose ideas of what sports radio was. Folks, it hasn't changed. I hate to break it to you. Like, we're a couple of numbnuts who come on here and talk about sports for a living. Like,
Back
that's,
in my day.
yeah,
Some
that's what sports
numbnuttier than
radio
others.
was. Yeah, like that's
I wasn't forcing a narrative. I was just reading a quote
this
from
is
him.
what
But
sports
whatever.
radio-
It's no big deal.
It's what it's always been.
So it's now come to hit you in the face, and I do feel differently. I can only speak about me. We've talked all this time about, well, do you think he's coming back? Is Fletcher Cox coming
4%.
back? I even had, or we all saw stuff over the weekend that said Fletcher Cox it looks to be retirement is more of what might happen. But now it's here in the face. It appears it's a 1 o'clock press conference today that Jason Kelce is going to make an announcement. We all think that, well, if there's a press conference, doubt it's that he's coming back. That can be handled in a tweet probably. But now it hits you. You're losing an all-pro center. You're losing one of the top 2 or 3 at his position. For a quarterback that you've paid $250 million to, we know all the outliers out there. Now that it hits us in the face, Pat, what do you think? I mean, is it a bigger thing than we talked about before when we weren't sure if it was happening or not?
I don't know if it's a bigger thing, but it sucks nonetheless. Like, there was that glimmer of hope, and I put it at 4%, but it was that glimmer of hope of, hey, maybe he can come back.
Yeah.
And it's the idea that it's he along with Fletcher Cox, who are still playing at a very, very high level. So you go, maybe they'll go, all right, I still got it. I'll come back for one more. And it's not a situation like, you remember Steve Carlton, who's like, okay, this dude really needs to hang it up. There's nothing worse than that.
No, there isn't.
And you don't want to see players get to that point.
No.
But you also don't want to see them walk away when they're playing at such a high level as Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox were. So it just, to me, it's the complete end of an era. I think they're the last 2 guys drafted by Reed. I got to think about it, but
Is
I'm
that
pretty
right?
sure.
You're good at that
I'm
stuff.
pretty sure they're it because Lane Johnson was Chip Kelly's first
Right.
draft pick.
Yes.
So, it really is the end of an era when it comes to Eagles football. I quote tweeted this thing and just said thank you for everything because he's the best center this organization's ever seen. Obviously Chuck Bednarik's got to be up there too. Played both ways, but when you look at the modern day game, Jason Kelce, his ability to get to the second level, it was like unmatched.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be easily replaceable. Like, I feel bad for Cam Jurgens because no matter how ready he is and no matter how good he is, you're constantly going to be comparing him to what he's replacing in Jason Kelce, and that is a Hall of Fame center. And it even though we kind of knew that this likely would be coming, and by the way, nothing's official. We're just going on the assumption that press conference probably means retirement, but it doesn't make it any easier. You're not only losing a key guy on the offensive line, like a really good player.
Yeah.
But you're losing a good locker room guy too.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's going out after that disaster,
Yeah.
it does hurt a little bit as a fan, first and foremost. That's the way my last memory of Jason Kelsey is going to be this awful disaster of a collapse of a season.
It's going to be him staying on the sidelines looking like, why did I come back for this?
Yeah, when he was the tears coming in his eyes down in Tampa Bay. Like, that's the last memory of Jason Kelsey. Obviously, I'm going to go back to the Mummers at the parade, all the great times, him pulling like no center I've ever seen and getting on the second and third level and laying people out. But right now, that's what I remember is him on the sideline probably thinking like, damn, I came back for this.
All right, we're going on assumption here, and we got word during the last segment that Jason Kelsey put out a tweet, no keg stands, going to make an announcement at a presser today, and now we're hearing that it's going to be at 1 o'clock down at the NovaCare complex. We are speculating that he is going to call it a career. I don't know if you call a press conference to say, yeah, I'm back. So that's our speculation. How do you feel about it? Like, it's here now. It's rock solid. You have a huge hole in that offensive line if this is going the way we think it is. How do you feel about the Eagles now? Do you feel differently? 610-632-0975. So, we automatically say, and a lot of it has to do with Jason Kelsey, the handpicking of Cam Jurgens going over there. Is there any chance it's somebody else starting at center? Because now you're moving to – well, hear me out real quick.
I can't do that, though. I can't hear you out because the answer is no.
When there was injuries to Jason Peters at left tackle, there was a lot of talk of, look, bring Lane Johnson over to left tackle because, he's the best that you have, and eventually maybe that's your replacement over there, and so on and so forth. The thinking, though, was they didn't want to move him because now you're disrupting the right tackle position, you're putting somebody new at the left tackle position, and now you're changing things all around. What if you get a center and plug and play with the line that you already have? What if that may be the Eagles' thinking because they were satisfied with Cam Jurgens, or they're satisfied with the growth of Cam Jurgens playing right guard? No?
I still go no.
Okay.
I hesitate a little bit to just put Cam Jurgens at center because I think he will end up there. But they didn't even dress Tyler Steen the last game of the season. And he's the other guy that was battling out at camp for the right guard spot with Cam Jurgens. So if you move him to guard, or you move Jurgens to center, who's going to fill in at guard? Are they going to have to go out and draft a guy, sign a guy?
At this point, I am full bore in Stoutland we trust. And if Stoutland thinks that Tyler Steen is it, Tyler Steen's it. And if Stoutland thinks that he ain't it, then you go out and get somebody else. But finding a guard shouldn't be as difficult as finding a center. And when you draft a guy to play center, have him play center. I didn't think Cam Jurgens was anything special at guard.
He didn't light anything on fire.
In fact, the last game he was brutal.
That's what makes me scared about Steen, though, that he couldn't even get on the field in front of Jurgens, who struggled at a lot of the season.
And that's completely valid and warranted. I looked at it like they wanted to get Cam Jurgens after 2 years. They didn't want Cam Jurgens going into the starting center spot, having sat on the bench for 2 years, not really getting any playing time. So let's get him out there, get his feet wet in the NFL. He can play a competent enough right guard. And by the way, he's in between, or he's in the middle of two Hall of Famers, in Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. So I looked at it like more of a necessity than anything else. Like, we need to get this guy ready for NFL life because we can't just rely on practice and go, okay, like, this isn't Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown. All right, hey, we're going to wait 2 years. Like, no, we got to get this guy some game tape. So, but the Tyler Steen thing, the fact that he didn't dress was a little concerning to me.
Yeah, very much so. He just looks thin to me.
He does.
He doesn't look, he's not filled out enough for me. Hey, Fanatic Monday is presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. So let me ask you guys, February 15th, February 13th? One of those days is free at 13th, March 13th. I'm way off. Let's start that over again. Let's dump back on it.
Going back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. March 13th, free agent signings.
Okay.
Does this change anything? Like, you had it in the back of your head. And like I said, we don't know this for sure yet, but you have it in the back of your head. If this is coming to fruition, Jason Kelsey is done. Have you already planned for this in your guys' minds? Or does it make you change the way you look at what they should do a little bit?
It doesn't change my opinion necessarily. I mean, the first wave of free agency, they usually give out like a big contract. I don't want that big contract to be a right guard. They had luck with Brandon Brooks, but I feel like you can find a right guard maybe in the second wave, maybe in the draft, somewhere else. I think you're good. And while we're worried about it, like Tyler Steen was drafted in the third round pretty high. So there is some faith there that maybe they can develop him and maybe a year of gaining some weight. He did get some playing experience in the one game. You know, maybe he can step into that role with a year under his belt in the NFL. I'm not giving out big money to him. Or, I'm sorry, I'm not giving out big money to that position.
No.
Especially when you have Hassan Reddick who wants another contract. You don't have any pass rushers other than Josh Sweat. That's it. You got two guys that can get to the quarterback right now.
And they're both on expiring deals, so they might both be on the trading block. I mean, we already know Hassan Reddick is.
Yeah.
Josh Sweat might be behind the scenes if they decide to go with Hassan Reddick and bring him back.
To me, if you went out there and you gave a right guard top-level money, and then you end up losing out on Hassan Reddick because Hassan Reddick wanted that money, and now you can't afford him.
That's a hard sell when you have Jordan Mailata, Dickerson, Lane Johnson on there already.
We got to trade Hassan Reddick now because, hey, second-round pick, and maybe we can get a defensive end that's as good as Hassan Reddick. I'll take the mystery box. That is the modern-day equivalent to Stacey Andrews Day. I understand that there's a slight difference in the sense of you're ushering out a Hall of Fame safety that had been with the organization his entire career. But that position was so important, and Dawkins was so important to that team. And what he did was unmatched. And what Hassan Reddick has done in the 2 years as an Eagle is close to being unmatched. And you didn't have a safety valve. You didn't have a game plan on how to replace him. You draft C.J. Gaddis, and you think maybe he can be it because he went to Clemson. No, he couldn't be it. Sorry. So, you get up there, and it's like, well, it's Stacey Andrews Day, Stacey Andrews Day. We're not talking about Dawkins. We're talking about Stacey Andrews. Okay, cool. The only thing we know about him is he's Sean Andrews' brother. Can we just talk about the Hall of Famer you just let walk? I'm not putting Hassan Reddick into the Hall of Fame. I'm not doing that. But to what this team needs right now, they need Hassan Reddick more than they need a right guard. Because everything that B-Gun just talked about, they're pretty good on the offensive line. They do have that hole in right guard because you're moving Cam Jurgens, but you can replace that. I don't know how you replace the production that Hassan Reddick has given you. And my worry would be they give big money to a right guard, and then they use that as an excuse for not paying Hassan Reddick.
I also say I agree with you on the Hassan Reddick thing. I think we're replacing Jason Kelsey a little too easily.
Yeah,
we're just saying, oh, yeah, it's Cam Jurgens, boom. Like I said, and we talked about it last week, too. All right, you're talking about the guy who's the second or third best guy at his position currently. You're losing that. And you're plugging somebody into that spot that has never played it as a professional.
No.
That's a big – so it goes back to something Pat said. I'll put this question out to the two of you. What person in that organization do you trust most? What person in the whole Eagles organization, you have to include everybody, do you trust most? Because it might be the answer to the questions that have now arisen with Jason Kelsey apparently announcing later on today that he's going to retire.
Oh, we got more breaking news, by the way.
Oh, jeez, look at this.
This is breaking sports news from 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Per Buster Olney, Zach Wheeler and the Phillies have come to an extension. I'm trying to find the exact tweet right now. Brendan Petrilli, shout out to him.
I got it. So Zach Wheeler and the Phillies come to agree to a multi-year extension. Wheeler would have been the number one pitcher in free agent fall, but instead he stays in Philly by season's end. It doesn't look like we even have the numbers. It's just flat out announcement
imminent.
Yeah, there's a lot of words there.
Imminent being a big one that you knew, so I'm proud of you.
Yeah, man. I went to Doherty, so we covered that word.
I know,
freshman year.
Kyle Lowry being a starting point guard is imminent.
Come on,
this guy.
Yeah. What's this guy's deal?
Man, we got a lot going on here today.
That is great news, though.
All right, so I'll get back to the question that I asked you. Maybe I'll ask it to Cousin Ryan because he's on the line here. Cousin Ryan, what's going on today, buddy?
Hey, boys, how you making out today?
Doing good. How about you?
Good. So, I actually, I didn't get to talk about this with John, but I was extremely frustrated that the Philadelphia Eagles organization squandered the last season of Jason Kelsey. if it is his last season. And you know what? It was so frustrating because we made such a big deal out of it that he was coming back, and then for him to leave this way, it just feels like we robbed him a little bit.
Yeah, it's a shame, but, like, what are you going to do? Go to the players and say, hey, play better. It's Kelsey's last season.
Yes.
I think it was
That's
just
what you do.
so far gone. There was nothing that could have been done
You
right.
point to that man and you say, play
Here's
for
what
him.
Play for him.
Here's what I think we do. I think we've got a big kegger going on at the NovaCare complex today at 1 o'clock after this press conference. Tell everyone to grab a six-pack, grab a keg, get down there, and send Jason Kelsey off in style.
That's not bad. All right, Ryan, I'm always up for a beer. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
I mean, I got to pick up my kid from school, but yeah, okay, I'm down.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick your kid up and bring him down. I mean, you know, we can
Or just not pick the kid up at all. He's 5. He can walk home.
Yeah, that's
Figure it out.
yeah. He'll. I'm sure there'll be beers toasted today all throughout the Delaware Valley. Should it be that Jason Kelsey is announcing his retirement? 1 o'clock press conference today. Kelsey verified that on Twitter, saying he's going to make an announcement. No keg stands right now. But I ask you guys the question again: who is the most important person? Or no, not most important. Who is the person you trust most in this Eagles organization right now? Because
Player, coach, what?
Anybody in the organization, because it might lend to you feeling better about this impending
Jeff
Jason.
Stoutland.
Exactly. I'm not kidding you. I think, like, if push comes to shove and you said to me, all right, who's the person that can succeed most, that is the best at their job, that if you had to hand them a problem, they would fix it, I got to tell you, B, I think it's Jeff Stoutland. Therefore, does this make the transition easier?
I think it should make it a little bit easier, but you're not replacing an all-pro, all Hall of Fame level center just by putting in Cam Jurgens, a handpicked guy by Jason Kelsey himself.
Exactly.
Like, Jason Kelsey went out there, and I've never seen a center get to the second level, the third level, taking out multiple guys on blocks, leading the way to the end zone, and half the time beating the running back to the end zone himself. Like, I've never seen that in my life. And that doesn't even speak to who he is in the locker room, who he is in the community, who he is off the field around here. Like, that's very hard to replace. And if you're losing him and Fletcher Cox in the same offseason, who's that guy in the locker room? I know leadership is here or there, but somebody has to step up and be that guy that we all see in the media as fans. Who's going to be that premier guy outside of a Jalen Hurts? Like, I don't really know.
You know, it all's coming in now, not coming in, but I remember reading something this weekend on Twitter that, what's her name? Taylor Swift was in Singapore doing her concerts while Travis Kelce was in Philadelphia. Saw that on Twitter this weekend. Makes sense. He's probably going to be there today if it is a goodbye press conference for Jason Kelsey. So just to reiterate, we have two big stories that have come through this morning. One, Jason Kelsey tweeting out that he's having a press conference 1 o'clock today. It appears if he's having a press conference like this that he's going to be announcing his retirement. As I said, just some side story. It looks like Travis Kelce was in town this weekend, according to Twitter, which you can trust, you know, as much as you trust anything. And also, Zach Wheeler getting an extension from the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, I see a report here that says Travis Kelce was looking at Malvern High School for his unborn kid. So might have some more breaking news coming up, huh?
Yeah,
Him and
wow.
LeBron.
Malvern, way to go.
Yeah, we're still waiting on the on their numbers of the Zach Wheeler extension, which will be interesting because he signed at a bargain. He was getting like $20 million, and that was a giant so he was in the final year of his 5/118. So that's a little under 25.
Right.
He outperformed that and then some. He was getting $23.6 million. So he outperformed that. You figure he's going to be around 30, I would have to assume.
Yeah, I think so too. Probably he's 34 now. 33, 34, Pat?
He is 33 years old. He turns 34 in May.
Now, that's a little, air quotes, deceiving. He missed 2 years with the Tommy John surgery.
He did.
When you come back from that, players often talk about, man, you start feeling really good 2 years after you get that done, or so. He's kind of in the prime of his pitching career right now, I think. Wheeler is, even though he's he's 33.
Yeah, it's and also like a couple pitchers, and one of them being Justin Verlander, won a Cy Young a little over a year ago. have proven that late in their career they can still be very, very, very productive. Whereas in the past it was like, all right, you sign a 5-year deal and then you're going to regret it in year 5,
Right.
4. That kind of happened with Strasburg, but you got other guys that hasn't really affected them. And obviously the Phillies are hoping that this happens with Wheeler. How many years do you think it'll be? Because the big thing for me is the years.
I think it's ideally the team probably wants 4. He probably wants 5, so it's probably going to be 5.
I would say 5 with an option.
I would say 5. But
Yeah.
now that Zach Wheeler's deal is done, do they now move on to a Blake Snell or a Jordan Montgomery? Does that open up the
That's
door
interesting.
for
The
that?
timing
now?
seems perfect, doesn't it, B?
Yeah, it does. So
I
I'm
mean,
loving it.
I have been saying it for 3 weeks. Every single day that goes by, the Phillies' chances of landing Montgomery or Snell go up because eventually these guys are going to go, I got to get in camp.
Got to get somewhere.
I mean,
Might as well win where
yeah,
I'm going.
Think about the fact that when Bryce Harper signed with the Phils, that was so late in the process. And I'm not even talking about just for him. It was just late for anyone to sign in the process. That was late February. That was like February 27th, 28th, or whatever. We're on March 4th. And these two guys are still out there.
Yeah,
like-
the Phillies have no more big fish on their own roster they have to take care of anymore. That's it with Zach Wheeler. So now they can turn their eyes to enhance the roster. I think something could happen in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Well, I would assume it's the next couple of weeks. I mean, the season's going to start in the next
With the next week or so.
Yeah, let's narrow this down. I mean, I don't want to be sitting here in March. Could you imagine if it's March 20th and we're going, I'll tell you what, every day that goes by, Blake Snell becoming a Philly
He's
becomes
signing
more and more
somewhere.
likely. Yeah, I don't want to become a broken record with it, but if you're done with this, how do you not kind of go, all right, what's next?
Yeah,
I
get
think
more
they're
serious
intertwined
about it,
Oh,
right?
I absolutely think they're intertwined.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so now Blake Snell, for example, say you bring him in. Okay, he misses the first month of the season. And I don't say miss in a bad way. No, he's got to gear himself up, get himself ready. So he misses 3 or 4 starts. Okay, that's fine with me.
Yeah, you
so
got
his 30
Taijuan Walker and Christopher Sanchez
exactly.
as well already.
So his 32 starts that he had last year gets cut down to 28. Maybe that 5 2/3 inning that everybody was so upset about climbs up to 6 whole innings. And everybody's okay with it now because he's going to have 4 less starts. We'll see how it all plays out. But what an interesting day it is. Do you get – so the Jason Kelce thing, do you get – I don't want to say sentimental. It's an athlete, you know. But do you, now that it's in the forefront, see the problems more with it than you did before? Or is it, okay, saw it coming, good for you, thank you for your time, and
I
let's
kind of
move on.
thought this is the way it was going ever since Adam Schefter tweeted that out the Tuesday after the Eagles playoff game that he told his teammates that he was probably going to retire. I've kind of accepted it at this point. It's still sad, right? Like it's a tough day.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
But, like it's weird for me because this is now the second generation of Eagles I've seen come and go. Like I feel like I'm getting old. Like it's very strange to see. Like it's a whole new generation now. It's Brandon Graham and that's it.
Yeah, man, I didn't even think about that. And Brandon Graham, I got a tweet from Brad Greenberg reminding me that Brandon Graham was also drafted under Andy Reid. So when him and when Fletcher Cox go, like that's it. Like the Reid era is done in Philly, and we know it's coming to an end. But to see it come to an end, as you laid out, Begun, the way that the season went, that playoff game was, I mean, absolutely disgustingly gross. He didn't deserve that, and you wanted to see him come back because he's playing at a high level. But you also wanted to see him come back because like you wanted better for him. You wanted him to go out, and it wasn't even necessarily like you had to go out with a Super Bowl. That's ideal, obviously, but you didn't want him to go out getting hammered.
Not like this. You saw the documentary. He wanted to retire after last season, going out on top. He wanted to call it quits, but he came back because he truly believed that this team was going to go back and repeat their NFC Conference championship and finish the job this year. And he finishes off going 6-7, getting blown out by the Tampa Bay Bucks on the road. That team stunk.
Yeah.
Wild day. Absolutely wild day. I do think that the Wheeler extension comes at the perfect time. Now, here, sign this, Zach. Excuse me, Blake, Jordan, can you guys come here for a second? We have that wrapped up. Now there's something. Why do you think this is going on so long for really good pitchers? You're talking a World Series winner and a Cy Young winner, that they're still out there, Pat. Own doing, baseball being baseball. Why do you think it is?
I think the representatives have completely botched it.
Oh, really? You think it's a bad thing?
Yeah, I think their representatives have lowered their price. Like they initially had a price, and then it didn't get met, they didn't balk on the price, and it still didn't get met. And then they came down a little bit, and now they're just trying to kind of save face for the client so they don't get fired. I think that honestly has it because I feel like one of these two. I got to look and see who Blake Snell's agent is, but Jordan Montgomery is Scott Boras, and I feel like one of these two agents is probably getting let go because this is becoming an embarrassment at this point.
Or
Also Scott Boras. So.
yeah, I thought it was.
All right, so there might be a situation where they either both move on, one of them moves on, but it's kind of telling that they both are rep by the same guy, and they're both are still out there, and that same guy, he's got an ego in baseball.
And they're both lefties. If one of them gets more money than the other, I'm looking at Scott Boras as the guy who gets paid less. Like, yo, dude, what the hell?
I just think it's a mismanagement by Scott Boras in this sense. He's been down the road before, but it hasn't been like this long into the process. March 4th. Late.
Yeah, it is late. But it's pitchers, which is a little bit different at least.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
they're still throwing.
they're going to get money, and they're going to have to perform less. So maybe that's the way they're looking at it. Like, hey, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
But the great news here is, guess who's down in Clearwater, Florida for us? How about that, Andrew Salchunas? So big happenings today with the Phillies. Andrew is down in Clearwater. He's going to have your show from there today. So maybe he'll get in some insiders to come in and talk to him or whatever. Press conference at 1 o'clock. Eagles have officially announced 1 o'clock press conference for Jason Kelsey down at the complex, at the NovaCare complex. I talked to our program director, Scott Masteller. We're hoping that we can carry that live. They're working behind the scenes right now to see what's going on, so that'll be on during Andrew's show. A lot going on here on the John Kincade Show here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Jason Kelsey's future looms large. I'm Brendan Gunn, and this update.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
John Kincade Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic. Bob Cooney, Pat Egan, Brendan Gunn getting it done. We got Haley back there on YouTube. Thank you for the YouTube people for being patient today as we had some technical issues that our IT department worked frantically to fix, and we have that all going right now. And also, Silvana's back there taking your calls. If you want to check in, the news that has been broken today on this very show. Jason Kelsey, 1 o'clock press conference down at the NovaCare complex. It certainly looks like he is going to announce his retirement. Not sure you would call a press conference to say, yeah, I'm running it back. So that seems to be the thing. I said that I saw on Twitter this weekend, just in rumbling through, that Travis Kelsey was in town in Philadelphia this weekend, according to Twitter. So maybe that's all coming together. And then we just got the good news. Zach Wheeler extension, 3 years, $126 million, no options.
No options. Yeah, so I did the math.
It's $42 million a year, Pat.
It's 40, and that is a lot.
It's the highest average salary of all time for a contract extension.
Is it really? Wow.
Look, it's a lot, but when you factor in his original contract, which was a steal, and the contract extension, you're looking at, if he signed it all at once, Zach Wheeler signed it for 8 years, $244. That averages out to $30.5 million. For what he's given the Phillies and what you expect him to continue to give the Phillies, that's more than
what do I
fair
care
market
what John
value.
Middleton's paying him,
No, I
dude?
know.
We got the years, too. It's 3 years
Yeah.
only.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I think certain fans might look at it like $42 million. Geez. But when you factor in the original contract and what he gave them on that,
it averages out.
It averages out $30.5 million. Like, you're going to take that for a big game pitcher like Zach Wheeler. But this also, by the way, is a good day for the, hey, Bryce Harper's contract's going to look pretty damn good in a couple of years crowd.
Right.
I'm a big.
Which you are.
I'm in that crowd, and the fact that Bryce Harper's get like $25 million and Zach Wheeler just got extended for 42.
Yeah, nearly doubled it up.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, that's what you kind of. I mean, you need it. You weren't gonna let him go. You weren't gonna let him walk. He liked being here. His wife is from the area. They got small kids. 3 years is the best part. Yeah, I mean, you probably gave more money to get the lower year.
And I'll
number.
take that.
And I'll take it too. Yeah, you do 3 years, and he is a pitcher that has dealt with injuries in his career. He's been relatively healthy for the Phillies, but still, he's dealt with some things, especially early on in his career. That's why his contract with the Phillies was 5 years, 118. So it was the injury history.
I like that they got it done before the season started. Not that I think him and Nola are similar in mindset, but I think Nola had the contract issues bother him all last season. Now Zach Wheeler, I don't know if they would or wouldn't have, but we don't even have to find out.
God, I brought up earlier in the show. All right, tell me something that had you just a little bit bothered or raised an eyebrow coming out of Philly spring training, because it all just seems too good to be true, and then they dump this on us today. It does, doesn't it? It seems like everything's falling into place. Now you have your ace pitcher happy. You have your 2 best pitchers happy. You might be signing a number 3 pitcher that's still out there. And like I said, a Cy Young Award winner and somebody that won a World Series last year. You still might be doing that. And I think if Pat and I don't know about you, if Pat and I were betting men, I think we'd put our money that they are going to get one of those 2 guys. Are you kind
I'm
of
right there with you. I'm kind of in the mindset where one of these guys is on the roster already. I know they're not. I know there's a lot of holes to jump through, but I think one of these guys will be in a Phillies uniform.
I've been feeling that way for a couple weeks now, and it just ticks up. I mean, over the weekend, the Blake Snell stuff of they'd be interested. I mean, that was kind of a no bleep Sherlock moment for me. Yeah, of course they'd be interested in a small, 1-2 year deal. Yeah, that makes perfect sense because they do have Painter and they do have Abel coming.
But the fact that it's getting to a reporter and it's being put out there, there's real traction to it.
Good point. Yeah,
like from one side or the other. It sounds like they're in discussions.
Yeah, tweeter has a point.
9 o'clock hours brought to you by The Bagster. Dumpster in a bag. Get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. For details, go to bagster.com. Okay, so we talked about Kelsey maybe announcing his retirement at 1 o'clock today and how that might change the landscape of what we think. I mean, I think the Eagles had a game plan in mind, whether Kelsey was staying or not. But the way we think about it moving forward, does it change? We talked about that last segment. let's look at this Phillies team now. And, John has brought it up many times how he's not a fan of the let's run it back type of thing. That's what they've done. Not only have they run it back, they've made the guys that they're running back with happier in Aaron Nola, now in Zach Wheeler. Bryce Harper's going to get pretty much whatever he wants, I think, down the road. That's not a problem. Does it change now that they got Wheeler, your outlook moving forward of what they should or what you want them to do?
Not at all.
No?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean a damn thing to me that they got him locked up. Now, I think it's better, as Brendan said, that they got him locked up before the season than in season, although I'm a big proponent that it doesn't really matter. I think that's the most overrated thing in sports is, I don't want to talk contract mid-season. Yeah, when a 95-mile-per-hour fastball's coming down the pike, you're thinking about your contract. It does have an effect, though, in the sense of, like, rushing back from injury and, erring on the side of
Yeah,
caution
that's a great
and stuff
point.
like
On the
that.
field during the games, no.
But, like,
not
on
so
the
much.
field during the games, those guys are locked in. They're not thinking about their contract. So I always thought that was BS. But, no, my thought of this team is they're a very, very good baseball team. They should be contending for the division. If you're contending for a division, you're contending for a World Series. This doesn't change that. They didn't add anything to the roster that we didn't already know. They have Zach Wheeler. They had Zach Wheeler yesterday. They have Zach Wheeler tomorrow. It's just that they have a happier Zach Wheeler. What does that mean? We have no idea. I mean,
he's never pitched with a $42 million contract.
And that's the thing. Like, for all we know, Zach Wheeler ends up becoming, and please do not take this out of context, but for all we know, he becomes Anthony Rendon, where he gets the bag and he's like, you know what, I'm done. That's not going to happen.
Please, no.
That's not going to happen, all right? Because $118 million was a pretty good bag as well. That was a lot of money. But my point is, I don't think that this really changes much. It could change him in the sense of a happier Zach Wheeler is negative, maybe, but I put that percentage as the percentage of Jason Kelce coming back, about 4%. I don't see it happening. I don't see a player getting that kind of contract extension, being happier coming into camp. I don't see him all of a sudden going the other way and it being a negative for the organization.
No, the guy wants to win. I mean, he came out of the bullpen in Game 7, right? And he pitched better than anybody on the team. The guy wants to win, and money's not going to change that, in my opinion.
But it is a talking point because, like you said, Pat, when Aaron Nola had the contract thing, we talked endlessly about, is it hanging over his head? Is it affecting him? Because, the knock on Aaron Nola is there a lot of things going on in that mind that shouldn't be, like kind of just throw the baseball. Like, let's keep it simple. Just throw the baseball. Happier is probably better, I guess. I just wonder if we hear something soon about these other guys. If there was a John Middleton, Dave Dombrowski kind of moment of, all right, we're getting this done and we're going to get this guy done too. Hey, Blake. Hey, Jordan. Hold on a second. Let us just get him done. We have yours right here. Don't worry about it. We got your contracts right here. Let us just get him done first, and now we're going to get you.
And I've been a big champion of this. John Middleton is one of the best owners in sports, not just baseball, in sports. And I'm talking the dedication that he has for this club, the amount of his own money that he has put into it. Obviously, he's making a lot, but to put it back into the club, to put it on the field, and then to be accessible to the fans. He's one of the best owners in baseball. But one of the things that makes him one of the best owners in baseball and all of sports is that dude wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to get into a room full of billionaires, which is Major League Baseball owners, and he wants to sit there with a bleep-eating grin on his face knowing full well we're the top dog. And how do you do that? You go out and you say, yeah, all right, 1 year, give him whatever. And that's why I think that within about a week, I think we'll have a pretty good idea of this team, and I think one of these guys is probably going to be here in about a week. I'd want Jordan Montgomery. The Blake Snell stuff was interesting. I'm not gonna discredit that and go, all right, I don't want him. It's a poor man's Machado Harper in a way. It's like I take both of them.
Yeah, 100%.
I have a preferred one. I take both, but I don't care what money he gets if it's a 1-year deal. Look, come prove it. If you do it again. And you don't even have to win a Cy Young, but if you come close to your numbers and you now have done it in a hitter's ballpark as opposed to the pitcher's one, dude, you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid by somebody. So you might as well come here. You have a decent relationship, I assume, with a lot of the guys because you are a Boris client, and Boris clients tend to, stick together. So I kind of expect him to one of these two guys to be in a Phillies uniform because John Middleton will make it happen. I have faith in the owner to make it happen.
I don't think signing a contract has ever swayed me on how a player plays or not. You kind of always say, yeah, you want him to be happy. Do you get into the mind game of like Zach Wheeler was going to make money somewhere.
Yeah.
Aaron Nola was going to make money somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's the amount of money, which is just through, we can't even imagine it. Us as normal human beings can't even imagine it. So I would hope it doesn't affect. Does a contract like this make you think or change your mind as to who is the most important Philly on the roster going into the season?
No.
Zach Wheeler doesn't catapult up into that because he has the biggest contract.
Bryce Harper was the most important person on this roster when he inked that contract. And he could have inked that contract for $1. And he is the most important person on that roster. You can't tell me a guy that pitches every fifth day is the most important. He is important, and he's one of the most important. But Bryce Harper is the straw that stirs that drink on that team. Bryce Harper is everything. I mean, we sat here a year ago, and it was Bryce Harper. It was like Panda Watch from Anchorman. You know, the mood is tense. When's he coming back? And then he comes back, and he plays first base, and it's like, this dude's a freak.
Yeah.
He is the most important player on the team, by far, hands down. And I don't think it's even necessarily just what he brings on the field. I think it's what he brings off the field as well. I think he's a really good clubhouse guy. I think he's there for teammates. And
He's a marketing guy for the team.
Yeah. But, like, it's little stuff, too. It's like, you know, having Stott live with you. You know, he latched on to Stott. They're both Nevada guys. They're both Las Vegas kids. And, you know, Stott gets drafted, and immediately Harper reaches out. You know, look, it didn't pan out, but Harper's stumping for Spencer Howard a couple of years ago. Like, John likes to give Bryce Harper a lot of crap for being GM Bryce Harper. GM Bryce Harper's been pretty good.
Hey, he's not bad.
Yeah,
How can he complain with the guys he's brought here?
I mean, there was that one relief pitcher that I can't even remember that Bryce Harper wanted like 2 years ago. That
Gene
was,
Garber.
No, not even close.
No.
Just shut your mic off after that one.
Ron Reed. He's still talking down there if you need to find him.
Jeez, man, I was at that, and that was rough.
Were you there that night?
Yeah, I was there that night. And here's the thing about that night.
And then that morning?
We thought that the thing was 6 o'clock. It was like, hey, game time, 6 o'clock. We didn't realize it.
Ceremony
started at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't realize that.
They
So we
reeled
sat
you
there
in.
for an hour with Ron Reed. No, there was that relief pitcher that signed, and I'm looking him up now, and he was bad. And I can't find his name, and somebody out there will tweet
Wayne
it at me.
Twitchell?
Jesus, man, can we just stay on track? Brandon Kinsler.
Yeah, Kinsler.
Yeah, you were right there.
We said that before.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Right before Gene Garber.
That's like the one thing, though, that I can point to and say GM Bryce Harper wasn't great, and that was on a minor league contract, like a invite to spring training. He liked him.
Wasn't a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal. And other than that, when he's stumped for a guy, it's gone pretty well.
Yeah, go get
So-
the best shortstop in baseball hitting wise, and we'll get him.
And here's the thing, and this I'll just wrap it up on this with the GM Bryce Harper stuff. I think it really goes a long way in that locker room. When you have a guy like Bryce Harper, who is getting paid $26 million, whatever it is, somewhere in that neighborhood, he's getting $26 million a year. And I said it, the day that he signed that contract was a bargain. We looked at 330 and we thought it was, oh my God, that's a lot of money. But when you broke it down to the 13 years, that was a bargain at the time. And that guy's going out there, and he was stumping for JT Realmuto to get a contract.
Yep.
Knowing full well that JT was going to be in the ballpark, maybe even a little more, he didn't know. But he's going out there trying to get guys paid and saying, no, we need this guy. Saying, knowing full well, they're probably going to make more than him, and he's okay with it because he took less money to have a situation where you're able to give a guy $42 million. Now, there's somebody in their car right now going, yeah, but he wants a contract extension. I still say that's Scott Boras trying to get the guy paid. That's what agents are supposed to do. But I don't think Bryce Harper's going in saying, damn it, I need more money.
No.
Because he's just not built that way. Like, he wants to win. He plays the game the right way. He plays hard. And he's a guy that goes, you know what, $330 million, yeah, it's generational wealth. My kids are set. Now it's time to win a championship. Now it's time to win a ring. I mean, we do forget that the year after he left Washington, they won the World Series. That's got to sting a little bit.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he wants to win, and I think it means a lot to his teammates that and you brought I'll let you bring it up. Two athletes sitting down for dinner. What are they all both thinking?
Looking at each other saying, I make more money than you.
And I don't think Bryce Harper
Is
even,
that guy.
is even thinking that. Now,
No.
he knows it, but he doesn't care. Because if it makes your team better, he's okay with it. So my point of this is, yeah, Zach Wheeler just signed and got $42 million and almost doubled what Bryce Harper's going to get, pretty close to it. And I don't think there's any resentment at all. I think Zach Wheeler's going to come in and get nothing but high fives and handshakes and, jokes about you're buying dinner tonight. That's about it. Whereas I think in some locker rooms, there might be a little resentment if you're Bryce Harper getting 25, 26, and you're an MVP, and you're coming back from injuries early, and you're switching positions, and you're playing it at a high rate. You're like, all right, whatever, man. Like, that speaks volumes to me of, like, you're putting your ego and your pride aside in a field where it's full of ego, and that guy's willing to put it aside. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's exciting to be a Phillies fan right now, because they have that great locker room dynamic, and he's so important with it.
You're buying dinner tonight in Italy. You could do that. Fanatic Monday.
When you're here, your family.
It's presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Breaking news today all throughout the show. A reminder, 1 o'clock. Haven't gotten word yet if we're carrying it or not. We're still working behind the scenes. But at 1 o'clock, we have a Jason Kelce press conference down at the NovaCare Complex. Kelce tweeted it out earlier today. No keg standing, but a press conference. The Eagles have backed that up, sent out an email saying that it will be at 1 o'clock. So the expectation is that your starting center here for the last, 13 years? Something like that, is no longer going to be here. We talk about it, and I'll bring it up again. Okay, yeah, you got Cam Jurgens. You have the guy that he handpicked, and we all trust Jeff Stoutland. I don't think it's that easy. I just don't. I think this is going to be – I think the offense just took a huge dent. They have to figure out who their starting center is immediately and get working with Jalen Hurts, obviously, and it probably is Cam Jurgens. Now you have a hole over there at the right guard spot. We'll see how it all plays out. But, Pat, are we understating this? Like, we laugh it off. Jason Kelce, there will be tears. Everybody's going to cheer, have a beer. Somebody suggested we go down, and break out a keg at the NovaCare Complex. Are we losing in all that? The fact that you're losing your best all-around player on the offensive line?
We're not downplaying it. We just expected it.
Okay.
And that makes it a little bit easier to stomach. I mean, I jokingly was putting it at 4%, 6%. It was the Jason Kelce watch. It was like a stock. It's going up. It's going down. We're shortening it. I felt like Gordon Gekko at one point. With Anacott Steel. But ultimately it was a penny stock. It was a dog with fleas. So
I've often compared you to Gordon Gekko. When you slick back the hair, especially, is when
it's a little slick back today.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got the lettuce going today.
Just waking up, putting the hat on, and letting it do the work.
That's
what you do, Bobby.
All right.
You wouldn't know about that life.
Which story takes over your mindset more? The fact that they extended Wheeler, great job, all of that, or the fact that Kelce is doing something that many of us anticipated be?
They're kind of like equal in my mind. Like, I love I'll go with Zach Wheeler because it's actually going to be playing in my mind. Jason Kelce, I kind of had the idea that he's not going to be here. I kind of had that idea in my mind for the past couple of months. So if and when he does announce that, it's not going to come by surprise to me. Zach Wheeler, I kind of thought they might not get a contract extension done until the regular season next to offseason. Because it was getting late in the process. I thought they were going to close the talks and not get it done. To come to find out that they did get it done, it's on the years that I wanted, shorter-term years. And like I said, pay that guy whatever he wants. He's earned it, and it's not my money, so what do I care?
And it takes away a storyline that I don't think any of us would like to talk about. Say, 10 games into the season, Wheeler's at, 4-5 with like a close to a 4 ERA. What's the storyline?
What's he thinking about?
The contract extension's hanging over his head. Why didn't they get it done? I don't necessarily believe, like, when a guy goes out to do his profession, as far as the athletes that I've seen in professional sports, I don't see a lot of dragging to the feet like, I'll go out there and play, but you guys didn't give me my extension yet. You hope to God that's not it.
No, it's not a guy you'd want in your clubhouse, and that's not a guy that, from all we know about the Phillies clubhouse, would even ever exist as it stands right now. That wouldn't be a guy that's there.
So we'll have to keep an eye on Wheeler's next start. I don't know what they don't have. They have Phillips, I think, going today. Isn't that the Eustace kid, Bishop Eustace kid?
I have no idea.
Phillips, I thought it was.
I apologize for letting you down.
No, that's okay. You never let me down, Pat.
I did just now.
I
if you ever ask me like who's starting today for the Phillies and it's a spring training game,
training. I know. I just look for the. I just
for
look for the big names to see,
I think it's
what's going on.
I think it's Duckworth today.
Brandon, no, he's out with a hangnail.
We got Coggin tomorrow, and then we got Randy Wolf.
Yeah, you got to get the Wolf pack ready to go.
Uday Brito's getting a look, and then Carlos Silva.
What has 12-0 Sanchez pitched in spring training yet?
He's thrown a baseball off a mound.
Oh, okay, but there's not. I remember when we saw the picture the other day. I don't know if it was saying he's about to start.
No, it's like the first time in 2 years he's like thrown a baseball.
He certainly was doing other things while he wasn't throwing a baseball.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame him. I mean,
no.
Who am I to judge? I mean, B Guns noticed that I gained the COVID-19 and then some during the pandemic. I beefed up. All right, I was walking around and people were pointing at me, calling me beef stick.
For other reasons.
Yeah,
not for what you think.
we show up at the happy hours and people like I heard grown women say I want to snap into that Slim Jim, but it wasn't so slim. It's just the curse that I bear. But he was if you remember, like when he actually did pitch for the Marlins, he was dominant.
He was
so
good.
He was as advertised.
It was a very short period of
but
time.
But that's the thing. It was about a 3-week stretch, and then he got injured. But he was as advertised. And I often think about, man, could you imagine if we had that tease in a Phillies uniform? Because it'd be the most Philadelphia thing of all time that you have this thing that looks like he is a future Cy Young winner for like a month. And then he goes away for 2 years.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like we're at the Sixto Sanchez watch constantly, and you're convinced. Thank God they traded him when they did, because that was the big concern when they traded him. Is he going to be able to hold up? He's got injury concerns. He wasn't able to hold up, and I don't want to see the kid do poorly. I mean, but he's also pitching the division. So, I'd say the Phillies won that trade because it was like him and Will Stewart, I want to say, and then Jorge Alfaro. And Jorge Alfaro has never amounted to anything, and Will Stewart never amounted to anything, and Sixto Sanchez amounted to something for about a month and a half.
The way you remember trades is nothing short of spectacular.
I gotta double check that, because I'm pretty sure it was Will Stewart, who was like a top level.
I don't think you do, because I really don't think there's a 0.1% of anybody listening that cares about that exact trade.
But like this,
you're bringing up names nobody knows. Yeah, to you, you're the guy that watches porn, and in the middle of watching porn, starts remembering a trade that the Phillies made 9 years ago that affected no one.
That's what does
and
the
you
job
go
for
off
Pat.
on a tangent of finding out that trade while Humpty Dumpty's going on.
That might be a true story. I'm not going to confirm or deny.
Done for
but that's how I keep this job. When people go like, "How is he in the big chair?" That's how it happens.
Anytime I walk into Fort Q and baseball references up, I'm leaving and not touching anything after that.
Look, Chocolate Thunder can wait, all right? Whatever she's doing on my computer screen, she can wait. I can click pause on that. But
you can't pause that brain into who got traded for what.
I gotta find out. I gotta go down that rabbit hole. And then and then it makes Chocolate Thunder even better. It makes the reward even a little bit more.
What's the weirdest trade recently, besides the one you're looking up now, that you had to dive into to get to remember who it was?
Oh God.
Claude Giroux comes into town the other day, and I forget who it was. Like, I think Rock has a trivia. Oh, who'd they get for Giroux? And I knew it was Owen Tippett and Denver. What's his Barkley?
Denver Barkey.
Hey, Barkey. So I was like, oh, I got that one. It's only one of the biggest trades, that it's been made. But I don't remember trades for Jack Diddley. You are unbelievable.
That,
it's
man.
like
I did. I looked up. I looked up what happened with the Michael Carter Williams trade. I was sitting there, and for some reason, like Michael Carter Williams popped up on my Twitter, and I was like,
Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, I know. I knew he went to Milwaukee, and I knew that they got the Lakers first round pick. I forgot who the Lakers first round pick was.
I was covering the team, and I have no clue at all.
And then it became even worse because the Lakers' first-round pick was Mikal Bridges. And
that was
then
bad.
I regretted looking up the trade.
Because
you were able to take the Rookie of the Year and, talk about Gordon Gekko selling very high, getting that pick, turning him into a superstar in Mikal Bridges. And, man, he looked really good in a Sixers uniform. But, hey, we all know when you have the chance to get Zaire Smith, by all means.
Go back to Big Thunder, Pat.
It's her name is Chocolate Thunder. Okay.
Big
So we
chocolate
could have had
thunder.
Mikal Bridges twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 or 3 times, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. All right, listen, we want to thank you today for joining us on the John Kincade Show. We're going to bring it all back to you 6 a.m. tomorrow, this same crew here. Big happenings. Stay on the station as Andrew Salchunas will join you from Clearwater, Florida. Might be a guest or two to talk about this Zach Wheeler extension. Also, 1 o'clock, Jason Kelsey press conference. We are engineering to try to get that, to see if we can get that live on air. Probably will be, so stay tuned to the station, see what he has to say. Hey, remember to support life-saving cancer research. Join me and our generous partner, the Davis CPA Group. I was there on Friday in making a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR. Cancer research, it does save lives. We thank you once again. Hope you're having a great Monday. Let's make it a better Tuesday. Come on and visit us 6 a.m. tomorrow here, John Kincade Show.
Fanatic